Dr. Deepika Gupta is an assistant professor in the area of strategy at IIM Visakhapatnam. She is the recipient of 2022-23 Visiting Research Fellowship from Gordon Institute of Business Science, University of Pretoria, Johannesburg, South Africa, which is a Triple Crown accredited institute. She was awarded with the C.K. Prahalad Prasasti Award for the Corporate and Social Strategy for the year 2022 for the research focus on cultural entrepreneurship and intellectual property. This award was conferred by Rethink India that honored eminent figures in corporate and social strategy to celebrate their strategic contribution towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. She is currently a member of AIB South Asia Chapter Leadership Team. She publishes and reviews for various national and international conferences and reputed journals. She has almost 12 years of industrial experience in organizations like Bombay Stock Exchange. She teaches courses like competition and strategy, business, government and society, innovation and new product development, corporate governance, legal aspect of business, strategic tax management for the various programs like PGP, PGP and PGDBM and other institute also. She is actively involved in MDP and FDP activity of the IIM Vizag. She continues to handle various administrative positions at her institute. With this, I welcome
Thank you, sir.
Madam Gupta.
Thank you.
I will give her a few minutes time. So she will request her to deliberate on how strategy is important for a student of management. And if you look at the last 20 years, the same subject, it was there as and today it is also there, but strategy, the importance why it is has changed. So my first question is on that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good morning to all the listeners. It's a privilege that I've been invited for this open house discussion on the topic on strategy as an important career option, actually. So as Dr. Patnaik rightly said that we all had studied strategy, or it was existing earlier as well. But it was never coined under the term strategy. So it was a part and parcel of some or the other subjects. So we had studied about strategy in the form of, say, financial analysis, balance sheet analysis, or even any other modes of, largely from the finance perspective. What has happened over the years is, especially in the US, there was a need where, given that strategy is seen largely at the top level of management, the thought was that how do we really carve this out of the existing system, and can it be seen as a, because strategy was just not related to finance, it included many things. So the thought was, can we really bring this out and make a combination of various subjects together? So it had inputs of various subjects. So you today, if you have to strategize, say for example, you are heading a retail store. So if you are heading a retail store, what would you look at so that people come to your retail store? First is that the things that you're selling should not be short. So because that is the immediate thing, that the customer should not go unhappy from the store. So for that, you have to maintain the logistics. Now, if you have to look at the logistics, it was largely seen as a operations subject. But now you have to strategize and understand that how do I manage the whole logistics? And that is where the strategic thinking. So you're thinking about making the plans. You're actually now planning, though you may not get directly involved into the logistics system per se. There are people who will handle logistics. But as a manager, now I'm trying to understand how do I ensure uninterrupted supply of goods in my store, where the support mechanism is supply chain management. So that's how the thoughts evolved over the years. And I'm just giving you a very current example of managing a retail store, but there can be many examples. You can look at maybe shipping industry, from the airline industry, anything that you can think of. How do you make arrangements for the airlines to move efficiently? How the turnaround time for the aircraft can be minimum? so that you save on the cost, or you ensure high level of efficiency. Now, if you look at efficiency, effectiveness, that all we were studying in OBHR or in any other subject, now all of that came together, and that is where the coining of the word strategy. Strategy was borrowed largely from military. So if you look at the history of strategy, strategizing was largely a military concept, where it was about now trying to understand is how do I position my army men in a war so that I win a war. That was the thought. Now, if you bring the same thing to the business parlance, I'm not going to win a war here. I'm not going to kill my competitor. So if I am, for example, say I am Nestle, I'm not going to kill any of my FMCG competitor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to snatch the market share from them. And for that, I need to strategize. And for that, I need to understand the whole gamut of management. And that's the reason strategy became a capstone. So if you really look at strategy, it is, if you really open up strategy, you will find, oh, this I studied in finance, this I studied in OBHR, this I studied in supply chain, this I studied in maybe your even communications. No, so I should be very efficient in my writing skills and my soft skills, many of these things. So ultimately, as a student, you may wonder that, oh, I have already studied all of this. Now, what I'm doing new with this? Now, what strategy the subject tries to do is it tries to bring out all the aspects together with a different perspective. So, and I think many of you would have studied strategy in your institutes, or maybe even basics. Even in IIMs, we teach very basic strategy, because only if you do PhD, you do more advanced topics in strategy. But at a very basic level, strategy, since it came from US, Harvard had been, Harvard Business School had pioneered most of the strategy learnings and lessons. And we have Michael Porter, as known as the father of a modern strategy. So you find a lot of frameworks from him. And that's where he had tried to bring in all the perspective of different functional areas of management into his framework. So you have Porter's 5 forces, you may have National Diamond Framework, you may have his value chain. All of that, if you open up and read it in detail, it is nothing but a culmination of finance, OBHR, marketing, supply chain management, and any other subject that you would have done. Yeah. So strategy assumed importance, because earlier it was only at the top level, but then the way things have evolved now, given that the organizations have become more flexible, now we don't stick to the traditional and hierarchical structure largely. Now the thought is that the process has to go top down. So if the process has to go top down, even the people at the lower level should understand what strategy is, and they should also participate into decision making, because it is ultimately the lower level people who will implement the policies made by the top man. If the low level, say you will all pass out from the institute, nobody is going to become CEO the next day. Yeah. So even if when I passed out, I was not the CEO the next day, or I was not immediately heading something. So initially as a management trainee also, so when I joined stock exchange, I was a management trainee. So as a management trainee, can I really now understand what the top management wants me to do? I can do it properly only if I understand the plan, the policy that they have laid down. And for that, I need not, I may not be knowing strategy at that point of time, but I need to now understand. Today it is more available, so I will now connect properly, and I will know, so this is my role as at the lower level that I have to play, so that the ultimately connected to mission and vision of the organization. So ultimately my contribution gets connected to the organization's mission and vision. So that's the core of strategy. So if my institute wants to be number 1 in the world, what is my contribution to ensure that I really go to, if not number 1, can I be in the top 10? And then I work further ahead in the, again, to to make it number 1. So as a strategy subject, the learnings are for all. So as a faculty also we learn, because it is evolving. Strategies change depending on environment, internal, external. You will, when you study strategy, you look at resources which are internal to the firm. You will look at the external environment. Say, for example, macroeconomic, Ukraine-Russia war. What is the impact it is having on your firm? How will the decisions change? So say you were exporting or importing to Ukraine or Russia. Now there is a war. Can I really now continue? If I continue, what are the problems? So this is nothing but strategizing. And if you really look at in the earlier days, this was all done through financial analysis.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. What sir rightly said, We have all studied it, but in a different perspective. And now things have become more better, given the evolution of business and many things.
Correct.
Where the strategy is now taking up, it's being carved out basically, the special career option.
Yeah. So you are right, madam. You have given an example of airline. So if you particularly in general you have given airline, but in particular it is Indigo. If you look at
Correct.
Indigo,
Yeah.
so whenever they are entering 13 years, they are putting an advertisement. We are teen. We are entering teenage.
Correct.
So for example,
Correct.
when they began their operation, their strategy was before time or in time. So that they collect the garbage.
So they used to say,
landing of correct. So
correct.
that is.
So they used to say that. So they used to say that the Indian Standard Time (IST) is not Indian Standard Time; it is Indigo Standard Time.
Indigo Standard.
And then you can actually match, you can actually match your watches with their planes landing, going, and that's a fact also at that point of time.
So I mean to say these are the strategy taken by their top management. So who is a CEO of Indigo, he strategized all the things. But my next question will be how the medium level or low level employee of or low level management is involved with the strategic decision making of an organization. Can you elaborate on this?
See, generally, I'll first speak about India. Especially organizations in India never liked. You can say they always had the decision making at the top and getting implemented at maybe the middle level or the lower level. So the decision making largely rested with the board or the board of the company or maybe the CEO or whatever we can call them. That had been the trend across many organizations, and even today. I'm not saying that we have surpassed some great levels, but even today many organizations continue to do that. So if you really look at the contribution coming from the lower level can be limited, but that doesn't mean that there is no option available. But now what has happened is, even though there is no direct contribution from the lower level or the middle level, the positions that are now created or the job profiles that are now created lead to understanding of strategy. So most of the time you will have analyst, you will have consultant at the lower level. And their job, even though they may not be directly contributing to the strategy making of their organization, they will be a part of the team that actually makes strategy. So strategy is not an individual work. So I just cannot sit and say, okay, now this is what I decide. So from tomorrow, my office timings have changed. I cannot do that. No, simple example on just changing the job timings. I cannot do that. I have to work in a team. So now the expansion of the team now has inclusive. It has become very inclusive in nature, diverse in nature. So the importance still holds. Now there is a lot of information that flows from bottom to top. So even though you are not directly asked by the CEO or anyway, even today, many of the organizations, I think even in IIMs, it is not still possible where the director will every time go and ask a non-teaching staff, what is your, what do you want to say?
Correct.
But it doesn't mean he is not involved into strategy making. He will be definitely a part of the team that is being formed or a part of the committee that is being formed for any activity. Maybe it is a program related or it is a non-program related. All of us contribute to that. We become part of the committee. And that's the importance that the lower level and the middle level carry for strategy making. So if you really look at strategy, it contains, I will say it contains three major things. One is planning side, that is strategy planning, which is largely, it's like top will do the max and lower level will do the minimum of it. It is like that inverted triangle. The next is the strategy formulation, which is equal for all, almost equal for all, because all of us can formulate strategy, and especially the people at the lower level will formulate it better, because I know the pain points of at the lower level, because I am there at the ground and I am interacting with the customers. I know what is the issue. So I may carry a lot of information. And that's where it has to get combined. The planning has to get combined with formulation. It has to get combined with implementation. And formulation and implementation, these two areas are where middle level and lower level play a major role. So that's many of the companies now, especially MNCs, or you call it international subsidiaries or whatever name you give it to those sector, they have great emphasis on the feedback, and they have great emphasis on the data which is being shared by their middle level and the lower level employees, because they are actually on the ground. And all the thinking, even though done by the C-suite or at the top level, which has been generally the trend in strategy, that it has to be done by the top management, that has come down a little. And they understand that till I get the information, the data from the two levels, I cannot now think, or I cannot plan. So I cannot formulate now. So my strategies have to get connected back to the customers only. So that loop that was missing, the feedback loop, you can call it feedback loop, that has to get connected. So even though, what Sir rightly says is, even today strategy is seen as the brain of the organization, or it is seen as being done by the top management, it is only successful unless the data comes from the two levels. If that doesn't come, or if you are angry or you don't want to share data, all the strategies are going to flop. Or you want to take revenge on the boss, you share wrong data.
So
and all the strategies are going to fail.
So you are right.
Important.
Correct. You are right. Saying that a junior level manager can contribute to the strategy of the director, of the chairman, by giving the feedback, analysis, result. So in other words, you can say that by using strategy, once you will be inside the team of the core team of the company. So either the director team or chairman team. So the strategy helps to bring closer to the community, and as such, to rise in the ladder. Obviously, once you will be in the say, close team of the director, so he will pick you up for the next position. Yeah, you are right.
And interestingly, many times, many of the people at the lower and the middle level, they can understand, but especially at the entry level, say many of the passing graduates, they become junior consultant, they are business analyst, they are say marketing analyst or product manager at the very entry. This is nothing but strategy only, but with different names. But the problem is many of the students at the entry level don't appreciate that they are being a part of this strategy. Though indirectly they are contributing, but they are not able to, they don't understand that we are a part of it. So that understanding will happen only when they work in the team, and the boss makes them realize this is their contribution, and they are definitely contributing to the strategy making of the organization.
Correct. Thank you. The third question you have already answered by the way of discussion, but however, for the direct benefit of the student, you may exclusively tell that what is the relevance of strategy as a career choice in the today's business environment? For the student, you can.
I'll give a different answer to this. This is which I have already spoken some things about the importance of strategy as career. Though even today, you don't find many of the organizations don't actually call their job profiles as strategy something, say strategy manager or something like that. They name it with a different word. So even today, that because it's a capstone career option, so you don't find the name strategy connected unless and until it's at the very top level. So there you may have strategy consultant, something like that. That's only a fancy name, but ultimately you're doing the same job that you do otherwise also. But here I'll give you some different perspective. One is, some of the areas that were largely seen as being done at the lower level or at the middle level have suddenly found importance in the board. So two of these, I think two of these major examples is, one is innovation. R&D innovation that was never a part of the board discussion earlier. So it was largely seen as, I have an organization, say for example, a pharma company, there is an R&D department, it does whatever it wants to do. And if it clicks, we get some new formulation or whatever, and the things will work as it is. But given the importance of, again, it is all flowing from US, but now given the importance that innovation is important and a very integral part of any organization, because in any department you can innovate. Innovation doesn't mean that I really need to have a laboratory and I innovate and I burn some chemicals and create something new. But today innovation can be at any level. It can be in marketing, it can be in OBHR. Very raw example of an innovation, you can even tweak a policy. That is an innovation. So if suppose I want to cut cost and I will say that, so from tomorrow, no tea, coffee to my employees. Yeah, that is again an innovation, though there will be a lot of fights, but that is again an innovative policy that as a director, I'm trying to bring out. Yeah, I'll have a lot of problems. That's different. But this is again innovation. Now, what has happened of late is because suddenly there was a need that everywhere people are doing new things. Why is R&D restricted as a department to some organizations? Now the importance flew from the lower level to the top level. See the beauty of strategy. So it is not the reverse. It is not from top to down. It has gone from department to the board. Now innovation is an important board agenda item. And that's where many of us we may be an R&D. No, I may not be from a management institute. I may be a pharma graduate. I was working in an R&D. Now suddenly I become important because of innovation, because I have been doing a lot of innovation. Now I become a part of the team, and I'm appreciated for the work I'm done. And in the team, I'm, the whole team understands the contributions that I do. So it is not that because I did something in management and I'm contributing, it has now become, it's a big umbrella where if I have a management degree, it's an added advantage. So I do a B Pharma, I do a management degree, both the combination. Now I understand the technical knowledge. I also understand the managerial importance. So I connect both, and that's where I become a better team player in the team. So innovation has moved from low level to the top level. Another area that has contributed largely to strategy is ethics and governance. Though it was always there with the board. Yeah, it was always there with the board. No, we always speak about board governance ethics, but the whole implementation was done by the secretarial department. Yeah. So it was all about company secretary doing it. They will do the filing of the returns and directors meetings, informing the stock exchange. All that was done. I was not bothered. Now, given some of the scams that we experienced, largely contribution going to Satyam scam actually opened this and said that no, even the board is to be held responsible. Yes. So you look at the changes made in the law, Companies Act doing a lot of changes, and now you have the CEO and the CFO signing the balance sheet, and if there is anything wrong, both of them can go to the jail. So the issues are that strategy is a lucrative area. You have a lot of options there. Largely seen as top down, some areas going from bottom to up, and becoming, it has become a jigsaw puzzle now. No? So it has, you have to just, shake it and everything has got mixed up. Now the onus is not just on the lower level. So say tomorrow as a junior analyst, you give a wrong data, I caught you and you're fired. Even as a CEO, if I sign a wrong balance sheet, I can go to the jail. That means if I give wrong numbers, yes, I can also go to the jail. So I have to be. So strategy is playing a role at both ends. Yeah. So it is a big continuum. It is not just related to top management. So that the traditional thought of strategy is diluted now. So people want to be very, very transparent. That's where it is leading to more of transparency. Though some of the organizations still continue to be autocratic in their, in their way they drive the organization. But you have a lot of unhappiness. You have a lot of these. They are not great places to work. That's the reason we go into all this GTW, whatever they call it, great places to work. But strategy has overall evolved, and many of the things are now seen from that perspective, which were earlier not seen. So R&D, with small firm, small area, now it has become important. Now it is a big discussion area for board. It's one of the important agenda items. Yes. So they will try to, because as a company, I continuously need to innovate. So it's not just restricted to my manufacturing. It is there in service. It is there everywhere now. So importance of strategy has, it is ever evolving. It is not like standardized and, I cannot put down the norms for that. I can just do.
It covers everything.
Yeah, I can just do. I can just standardize three things in the strategy, that is vision, mission, and value. That also changes after some time.
Yes.
So there is nothing that I can say that, yes, this is now it's not like accounting rules where the world will follow the same. So strategy is evolving.
Correct.
Yeah. So as a management student, we should appreciate that whatever role we enter, you are contributing to strategy of an organization. Though I know, because even when I was the management trainee, that time it was not there also. Strategy, we, like how sir was saying, mostly finance related. We never thought we are contributing. But as you rise in your career, you will appreciate that. And as a junior level also, you had always contributed. Yeah. So that's where the differences are. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Yes, sir.
The next question is, you are teaching the strategy for a couple of years. Can really the student learn during their study in the educational institutions?
Strategy, see, I always, when I begin the class, I always say, because we have a mix of students who had worked for a couple of years, even 1 year, 7 months, 8 months, in that bracket, from 6 months to 2 years. Some of them have worked more, some of them are freshers. So for the freshers, they don't know anything about the corporate. So I always make a point in the class that people who have already worked, though they worked at the lower level, you would have not realized that you have done strategy. But now as we sail through the course, I will connect it, and you will appreciate that, yes, this is what we used to do. And you can always contribute to the class. So you can share your experiences also. So when I taught, so there are mixed reviews, because for freshers, they are like odd. So they are like AWED. So they are like, oh, like something like this can happen, in the corporate. So they are surprised. But there are a section of students who actually say that they have worked on some of these frameworks.
Yes.
Because that was what was given to them at the lower level. So say, for example, some of them, I remember some student telling me that they were working with, I think, with the insurance company, and that company wanted to explore another business. So they actually did industry analysis. Though they never knew there is a Porter's 5 forces framework, but they did some general industry analysis. Now they can connect. So they say, oh, now we know that, yes, there is something like these 5 levels, though we never did it in this way, but we did general industry analysis, like we searched the website of many companies, and we downloaded some data reports from the published sources, newspaper reports. So they are doing the same thing, but now they know that it is under this name. So there was a student who actually used, when there is a tool in strategy implementation, balance scorecard. So there are students in I think there was a student from the pharma industry. They said that, I think he was working with if I remember, Novartis. I don't remember, but I think Novartis. So they say that our company actually uses balance scorecard because it's an MNC. So you need to have global and regional and national and all that, and that fits in properly. So now they realize that, oh, this is where it gets connected. So my answer to your question will be that there won't be a very direct yes, but students can connect that this is what is there in strategy. Now they understand the practical importance of it.
Correct.
So they have done all this, and especially when you teach to an experienced batch, like when I teach to the experienced MBA program students, they get more connected, because some of them are at the middle level, some of them are at the entry, some of them are largely at the middle level. So they know that, because they are in between. So they know that they know that they have been doing the same thing, but they never knew the technical term. So even for the new people joining, it's like general for them. But when they start working, they can connect. So they will know that, this is what we. So it gets connected, sir. I will not say a clear no. It is both the sides. So it will be largely on the positive side.
Right. Thank you. So usually whenever we see the campus placement drive, I am a professor of computer science. So usually whenever the company visit the campus placement, they offer different say position. Are you comfortable with programming, coder, and business analyst? So whenever there's good student will say, I'll join programmer, not as a business analyst. So business analyst is somewhat related to strategy. Okay. So why I'm telling? So similarly for the management student, whenever say company is coming, say core HR, whether you will be joining as a core HR or strategy. So people usually no, my specialization is HR, I'll join HR. So rather than joining business analyst position. So what are the problems and challenges in choosing strategy as a career option? So my question is direct.
Okay. I think in IIM's students are more attracted with the word strategy because you look at my courses also, I also write strategic tax management. Because we have to connect it ultimately with the business problems. So that's where, so even if I teach tax, we all know tax is a very boring subject and there is no way that you can create interest. So how do you create interest in a subject is another big challenge for, I think, all of us. I know whether it is management or science or whatever area, it is a challenge. So especially what we do is we bring out problems, even current newspaper. So I always tell students, please read newspapers. This generation doesn't read newspaper. That's a worrying part. You should read newspapers, and if not the printed, at least on the phone. You have a lot of, your world is in the mobiles, but read, you have to read. It's not just Chat GPT doing all the job for you these days, but it is newspaper that will do most of the job for all of us. And that updates you, that will give you the latest example. So I always tell, even in the tax class, say, for example, there is the Vodafone case, why it happened. So you have to bring if you read, you will understand. So you will understand what was the problem, or anything that you want. You have to just read newspaper and understand the issue. So we have to connect it to the business problem. The problem with the students is that they fear taking risk. So if you really look at the issues, say if you said, for example, you said coding, programming, and business analysis. So coding, programming is easy for them because they are into that. They have learned it in their graduation. As a business analyst, what I have to do is I have to do something extra. Now I have to look at accounts also, or I have to actually look at finance. So that's the trouble. That's the problem that many of the students don't want to take. Even we face such problem with some of the students are very focused that, no, I just want to do this. At least experiment, take a risk. You don't know, sometimes it may be better than you think. At least try it out. You have to just jump into the job market, then the world is open. If you are very selective, the job market is controlled then by you, then your opportunities are gone. So I always tell students that you have to take risk. Risk-taking appetite is yours. I'm not telling you to take max risk, but at least start taking some risk. Because if you do it, start taking it at an entry level, it will build your appetite, because tomorrow you will rise in your career. Everybody wants to be a CEO, CFO. All of us aspire to be into the C-suite. And at the C-suite, it is more risk. If you're not able to take risk now, what will you do then? So I always tell them that you have to take risk, and that's the reason, even in our institute, even in IIM, at least in IIM Visakhapatnam, there are section of students who are very much still connected to the core, because that's easy for them. They have learned it in their graduation, or maybe they have learned it in, easy. They know that standards. But I always, I want students, you try business analysis. It's not difficult. You may use coding, programming there also. You may define, why don't you design a code to work out on some easy solutions for that problem? So it's not that you have to, use an Excel and do it. You can run your macros. You can use C++, Java, whatever you're conversant with, and work out a solution for that. You may contribute in that way. But if you're very selective, then you have lost an opportunity. Sometimes I feel that students fear that, they will be a part of the team where they may have to interact with the higher authorities. Even that fear pulls down students. But I think you have to do it, because at some point of you have to talk to them. Ultimately, you just cannot find an escape route and say, I will only talk to my reporting authority. That doesn't work. You have to go further. If your reporting authority is not listening, or authoritative, or atrocious, you don't know, then you have to make a complaint also. So you have to be open to opportunities. Yeah, you don't be very selective. That's what I can say, because I chair my placements in my institute, and I have seen so many of these cases where the students come and say, we don't want the role of or, some sales or something. We want to do more of OBHR. We want to do more of marketing, more of finance. I said, at least try marketing. At least in summer internship, you try. If you're not happy, final May, you can always have a choice. But experiment it. No, why don't you? We all fear experimentation, because that's a very basic problem, sir. If you really see, the issue is we hate taking risks, because we all love our peace life. Yeah, we are all happy being at peace. We don't want disturbance in our lives. So that's the reason. Students also. But I think at their age they should. They should take.
Thank you. And this year, this is an information I am passing to you. This year, All India Council for Technical Education has opened up postgraduate certificate in this business analytics. So they have opened up 140 certificate program, and one of the certificate program is business analyst. And we are applied to that business analytics course. So in
very good.
In our institute from this July, we will be running business analyst course. So my next question will be, what are the benefits and return in this career option? Strategy.
For the business analytics?
Or
strategy. Strategy anyways, at the entry level, it is more traditional, or you can say it is as per the requirement of the organizations. But as you grow, I've seen many of the people who had getting connected to corporates, or getting connected to, or working with say investment bankers as a consultant. Many of them start their own consulting also later on down the line, as years pass by. They don't want to be, or they are CEO of some organizations. They reach that level. They are a part of that, or they are chief strategy officers. They do all that, and that's the reason that then later on, I think they have a lot of networks and good connections, where they want to later on encash and start having their own you can say their own investment consulting or any other consulting firm. They do that. I've even seen many of these people actually shifting careers later on, so moving into academics. That also I have seen. Or they write. So I get sometimes so many at times mails. Sometimes many of these people, they call up and say, if there is an opportunity for guest lecture, we would like to share our experiences with the students, what we faced, as being into this profession. So what were the challenges we faced? But it's all remunerative, because money is not a concern here, because you are ultimately dealing with the strategy planning of an organization, which is basically trying to ensure that the corporate is, whichever organization you are dealing with, will be better than any other player in the industry. So you are trying to make that firm, achieve targets that it had not thought of also. So many of the students, I see so many of the updates coming on the phones these days, where they say that some student from an educational institution, even they do have their own startups. So because now in and out of a business. So when and in and out of the business, you can have your own entrepreneurial venture, you do startups, and they make a lot of money. Or they actually run small apps they design, because most of them, instead of doing the coding and programming for some other organization, they do it on their own. They form an app and then they sell it, and they make a lot of money. So money is not a concern. The only thing is the interest. What area interests you? So do you really want to be into the product management side? You want to be more into the service side? You want to be more into the logistics, more into finance, investments? That's the interest that the students have to take further. And then you have a lot of avenues for that. So if you really look at the growth, if you're ready to take risk, naturally the growth is higher. You may face challenges. There may be ups and downs. That happens whether you take risk or you don't take risk. Ups and downs will be there. So let there be up and down with the risk.
Yes, yes. So the risk is also inversely proportional to strategy. If you know more strategy, risk level will be low. Yeah.
So coming back, I think I answered that.
We are talking about risk.
Yeah.
So I will supplement the word risk with strategy. If someone is having a better strategy, risk level will go down.
Correct. Yeah.
So thank
True,
you,
true.
madam.
Correct.
Thank you, madam, for your.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I was thinking
Thank
it
you.
would be over by half an hour, but you are so generous that you explain
problem.
everything in like a classroom teaching. So whoever will see this interview, definitely the student will get many information for his career,
Thank you.
junior level manager, as well as the career prospect. And whenever, particularly if he wants to start a new startup for his own, definitely he will be getting a lot of insight from your talk.